Hello and welcome. My name is Nisi, and today we're going to explore a practical systems-based view of change management, one that places leadership and organizational context at the center of how change is understood and applied. We're going to move beyond step-by-step models and focus instead on how change behaves in real environments across relationships, processes, culture, and power structures. We're going to examine why change can fail and what effective leadership looks like in these complex systems and how to create the conditions for successful, long-lasting change. First, let's look at change as a systemic challenge. Organizations are not machines. They are systems made up of people, behaviors, processes, technologies, values, and structures that interact constantly. When change is introduced, it doesn't just affect one area, it triggers adjustments across the whole system. People shift their behavior, workflows adapt, cultures resist or respond. That's why even small changes can have large, sometimes unexpected consequences. So a systemic view reminds us you cannot separate technical change from human response. You can't adjust part of the system without paying attention to the rest. Now, too often, change is managed like a project with a plan and a deadline, but the system doesn't behave that way. It pushes back, reorganizes, and finds its own path. So why does change sometimes fail? Now, some change efforts fail, not because the idea was wrong, but because the system wasn't understood. Here are a few common issues that we see. Sometimes leaders underestimate the cultural resistance, or change is introduced too late without any clarity. Sometimes different teams are left uncoordinated, or there's no feedback loop to sense what's working and what isn't. In each case, the system is either misread or mismanaged, managed as if it were a machine rather than a living, adaptive environment. Without a whole system view, you get surface level compliance, but not real adoption. The formal change rolls out, but the informal behaviors remain unchanged. So when you look at systems thinking in practice, systems thinking gives us a way to work with complexity instead of fighting against it. Instead of breaking a problem into isolated parts, we ask, what patterns are we seeing? What loops or dynamics are being reinforced from our old or current way of working? We also ask, where are the leverage points? So think about a sales process. If performance is failing, the solution isn't just better scripts or more training. It may relate to upstream decisions, trust in leadership, conflicting KPIs, or changes in the customer base. All of that is part of the system. A good change manager thinks in terms of causes and connections, not just tasks. They look at how decisions ripple across the organization as a whole. Change leadership is not a role, it's a shared responsibility. It involves leaders at every single level working with the same understanding of purpose, values, and approach. In an integrated model, leadership is distributed. You've got senior leaders who provide strategic clarity and sponsorship. You've got your middle managers who interpret the change and add their local context. You've got project leads who coordinate action. And then you've got your team members who share ownership and feedback. Now, this kind of alignment doesn't happen by accident. It requires trust, clear communication, and strong relationships between the different layers of the organization. Leadership must be both top-down and bottom-up. Influence has to flow in both directions. So when we think about preparing an organization for change, a systems-aware leader begins change by listening. They ask, where is energy for this change already present? Where is resistance likely to occur? What will people need to let go of, and what will they need to learn? They also understand that readiness is uneven. Some teams are agile and open, others are overloaded or skeptical. That's not a problem. It's normal, but you must prepare accordingly. Change is not just about installing something new, it's about unlearning and reintegrating. People need time, clarity, and support. Effective preparation includes early engagement with stakeholders, space for concern to be expressed, visible leadership presence, and framing the change in terms of purpose, not just output. Now let's have a look at managing the dynamics of change. Change doesn't follow a straight path. People go through cycles, confusion, resistance, testing, engagement. You can't eliminate discomfort. but you can help people move through it. That means listening actively, responding without defensiveness, providing clarity without pretending to have all the answers. You also need to manage pace. If you go too fast, people will burn out. And if you go too slow, momentum fades. Use feedback loops to adjust based on what's really happening, not just what was planned. Systems thinking reminds us the more tightly you hold onto and try to control the system, the more likely it is to push back. So instead, lead through connection, feedback, and responsiveness. Now let's look at embedding and sustaining change. Change that is sustainable is change that has become normal. That happens not through enforcement, but through reinforcement. You are reinforcing behaviors through recognition, your reward and recognition schemes. You're aligning incentives with the new ways of working. You are designing systems that support rather than contradicting the change. Sustainability is about fit. Does the change make sense in the real context people work in? Does it reduce friction or increase it? Does it align with values, day-to-day priorities? Systems don't hold change in place through documentation. They do it through habits, through relationships, and through reinforcement. That's where change either embeds or fades. So to lead change well, we need to do more than just have a plan. We need a new way of thinking. A systems approach helps us to see the complexity of the work, the dynamics, and lead in a way that's grounded and adaptable. Now, the frameworks are still necessary and very handy, but having that view of the whole is absolutely essential, especially in these times of continuous change. If you found this video helpful, subscribe for more content like this and share with somebody else who you think would gain value from it. Have a great day. Bye.